She felt the gun press against the back of her head. Cold metal. A steady hand holding it there. Zola Vance was on her knees in an underground parking garage. 3 men stood around her in a half-circle. 2 she had never seen before. 1 she recognized. The lieutenant. The one who always stared a little too long when she cleaned the penthouse. And then there was Tae-oh. Ryu Tae-oh stood about 6 feet away. His white shirt was stained red at the shoulder. His face looked like all the blood had drained out of it. He was not looking at the men pointing weapons at him. He was looking at her. The lieutenant spoke. Choose. Your territory or the maid. Tae-oh's jaw went tight. His hand, the same hand that had touched her face just hours before, hung at his side. It was shaking. Vance wanted to tell him to walk away. Save himself. Forget she ever existed. But when she opened her mouth, different words came out. Words she had been holding on to for weeks. I have always wanted you. Her voice stayed steady. Not the boss. Not the money. Just you. Something changed in his face. His shoulders dropped. His eyes went glassy. And then the most powerful man she had ever known did something she never expected. He started crying. A tear rolled down his cheek. Then another one. The gun pushed harder against her skull. But wait. How did they even get here? How did a housekeeper and a crime boss end up in a parking garage choosing between love and survival? To understand that, we need to go back 3 weeks. Back to the night everything changed. Okay, hold on. Before we go any further, I need to talk to you for a second. You are about to spend the next hour with Zola and Tae-oh. You are going to watch their world fall apart. You are going to watch them try to put it back together. And I promise you, this story goes places you will not see coming. Smash that subscribe button and tell me where you're watching from, because if you're enjoying this, I've got more stories coming that hit just as hard. Alright. Now let us go back 3 weeks. The elevator smelled like cleaner and rich people. Zola Vance checked her watch. 11:47 p.m. This was her 8th double shift this month, and she felt dead tired. She was 26, grew up in South LA. Her brother Malik was starting college next semester, and half his money was coming from her pocket. That was just how things worked in her family. You took care of your people. The light in the elevator kept flickering, making weird shadows. Her uniform was clean, but her shoes were getting holes. 1 more month, maybe 2, before she needed new ones. Vance had spent most of her life being invisible. She only talked when someone talked to her first. She noticed everything. She said nothing. That was how you survived when you cleaned up after rich and powerful people. Before her shift started, her boss pulled her aside with a weird warning. Whatever you see on 34, you did not see. Got it? She didn't ask why. She never did. She swiped her card. Penthouse level. Floor 34. The elevator doors opened to fancy marble floors. Huge windows showing the whole city. And blood. A lot of blood. Vance froze for 2 seconds. Then something kicked in. Not her cleaning training. Her survival training. Her Uncle Ray was in the military. He taught her stuff most people never learned. One thing was simple: panic gets you killed faster than bullets. She looked around fast. Man slumped against the wall by the study door. Blood on the floor, smeared like he dragged himself there. No weapon in his hand. Nobody else around. The door was locked behind her. She had 3 choices. Leave. Go back down. Pretend she saw nothing. Call 911. Be a witness. Testify in court. Have people hunting her forever? Help. Ask questions later. She chose to help. She walked up to the man carefully. Knelt beside him. He looked up. This was the first time she really saw Ryu Tae-oh. Not just the boss who walked past her without looking every week. Not just the name she heard security guards whisper about. The actual man. He had some gray hair at his temples. Lines around his eyes like he hadn't slept good in years. And those eyes. Sharp and calculating. But right now, cloudy with pain. You are the housekeeper, he said. Not a question. You are bleeding out on marble, she replied. We both got problems tonight. He almost smiled. Almost. She went to the kitchen, knowing exactly where the first aid kit was. She had cleaned this place for 8 months. She knew where everything was. Back at his side, she looked at the wound. A knife cut across his ribs. Not deep enough to hit organs, but deep enough to need stitches. I need to clean this. It's gonna hurt. She didn't wait for him to say okay before soaking a gauze pad. When she pressed it to the wound, his whole body went stiff. But he didn't make a sound. You know what you're doing, he said, watching her hands. My uncle was military. Taught me this stuff. She threaded a needle. This needs stitches. You can do that? I can. Won't be pretty as a doctor, but it'll keep you alive. He nodded once. Do it. While she worked, she noticed a tattoo on his shoulder. A symbol she'd seen before in newspapers talking about Koreatown gangs. She didn't say anything, but her hands stopped for just a second. Tae-oh noticed. You recognize it. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She kept working, her stitches small and even. The room was quiet except for his breathing. You're not scared, he said after a while. Being scared wastes time, she replied, tying the last stitch. You're out of time. She wrapped his chest with clean bandages, moving quick and sure. He watched her face the whole time, studying her like she was a puzzle. His phone buzzed. He looked at it, his face going hard instantly. You need to leave, he said. Now. She didn't argue. Didn't ask why. She packed up the first aid kit, washed her hands, and headed for the elevator. As the doors closed, she saw him watching her. Not dismissing her. Watching. The elevator went down quietly. Her hands weren't shaking, but her heart was racing. She had just stitched up a crime boss. She was now a problem for someone. Her phone buzzed in her pocket as she got to the lobby. Unknown number. A picture loaded on the screen. It showed her walking into the Helix Tower's service door tonight. Timestamp showing. Her face clear as day. No message. Just the picture. Someone was watching her. And they wanted her to know it. She deleted the message, pushed through the door, and stepped outside. The bus stop was 3 blocks away. She walked fast, looking behind her every few minutes. The bus was almost empty this late. She sat in the back, watching city lights go by. Her uniform still smelled like cleaning stuff and someone else's blood. At 1:47 a.m., she unlocked her apartment door. The hallway smelled like curry. Her neighbor's baby was crying through the walls. She sat on her bed, still in her uniform, and stared at the wall. She should quit. Ask for a different building. Walk away and never go back. But she kept thinking about his eyes. The way he almost smiled. And she knew. She was already in too deep. Her phone buzzed with a text from her brother. You coming to my orientation next week? 2 p.m. on Thursday. Reality hit her again. She had a life. Responsibilities. People who needed her. Whatever happened tonight needed to stay there. In that penthouse. She would go back tomorrow for her regular shift. She would clean. She would say nothing. She would be invisible again. But as she finally changed out of her uniform, she knew something had changed. The man with those eyes had seen her. Really seen her. And now she couldn't unsee him. She laid down on her bed, super tired but wide awake. The ceiling fan turned slowly, pushing around the hot air. Outside, sirens were going off somewhere. Just another night in LA. Except nothing felt the same anymore. The picture on her phone bothered her more than the blood had. Someone was watching where she went. Someone had her number. Someone wanted her to know she was being tracked. Why send the picture at all? Why not just get rid of her if she was a problem? Because she wasn't the target. She was a pawn. A piece being moved in a game she couldn't see. Vance finally fell asleep around 3 a.m., dreaming about bloody marble floors and eyes that saw too much. Morning came too soon. Her alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. Another day. Another shift at a different building. As she put on her uniform, she made a decision. She would go back to the penthouse tonight like normal. She would watch. She would listen. She would figure out what game she had been pulled into. Because Zola Vance was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. Knowledge was protection. And right now, she needed all the protection she could get. Vance's apartment was tiny. Just a studio on the 3rd floor of a building where the elevator never worked. She didn't have much stuff. A bed that squeaked. A hot plate for cooking. A small table with one chair. A clothes rack instead of a closet. On her windowsill sat the only thing that mattered. A photo of her mom. She died 3 years ago. Cancer. The doctors said they caught it too late. What they meant was her mom couldn't afford to see doctors until it was too late. Vance sat on her bed, still feeling tired even after 3 hours of sleep. Her phone buzzed. Hey sis, hate to ask but my books cost more than I thought. Any chance you can send that money early? It was Malik. Her little brother. First person in their family to go to college. She looked at her bank app. $247.32 in checking. Rent was due in 2 weeks. $950. She was short, but she'd figure it out. She always did. She texted back, I'll send some tomorrow. Love you. She almost called in sick today. Almost. But 2 things stopped her. First, she couldn't afford to miss a shift. Second, she kept wondering if Tae-oh was okay. If those stitches were holding. If he was even still alive. She showered in lukewarm water because the building's water heater was a joke. Put on her second uniform while the first one soaked in the sink. Blood was hard to get out once it dried. 3 buses and 90 minutes later, she was at work. A different building. Regular rich people. No blood on the floor. No eyes that saw too much. Just a normal day. Except nothing felt normal anymore. When she got to the Helix Towers for her evening shift, she hesitated before swiping her card. What if he was waiting? What if there was more blood? What if whoever sent that picture was watching right now? She swiped anyway. The elevator went up. Her stomach felt weird, like she was falling instead of rising. The doors opened. She stepped into the penthouse. The floor gleamed. No blood. No sign anything had happened. But she noticed little things. The rug by the study door was different. Slightly darker than before. The smell of bleach still lingered under the fancy air freshener. Someone had cleaned up. Good job, too. Professional. She went to the kitchen to get her cleaning supplies from the cabinet. That's when she saw it. A white envelope on the counter. Her name written on it in neat handwriting. She opened it. Cash. Lots of it. She counted quickly. $3,000. Enough for 3 months of rent. No note. No explanation. Just money. She put it back on the counter. Didn't put it in her pocket. Didn't throw it away. Just left it there. She was halfway through cleaning the living room when she heard a door open behind her. You didn't take the money. His voice was deep. Calmer than last night. She turned around. Tae-oh looked different standing up. Taller than she remembered. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. But he moved carefully, one hand staying near his ribs where she'd stitched him up. Didn't earn it, she said. You saved my life. I cleaned your wound. Different thing. He studied her for a long time. Those eyes. Sharp. Missing nothing. What do you want, then? To finish my shift and catch the last bus home. He almost smiled. Almost. Just like last night. Then something surprising happened. He actually laughed. Just for a second. Like it surprised even him. You're the first person in years who hasn't asked me for something. Maybe that says more about your friends than it does about me. That made him go quiet. He nodded like she'd said something important. Finish your shift. But the offer stands. The money's yours if you want it. He walked into his study. Left the door open. She could see him sitting at his desk, looking at papers. But every few minutes, she'd catch him watching her reflection in the window. His phone kept ringing. He kept ignoring it. Around 9:30, the front door opened. A man walked in without knocking. Korean. Mid-30s. Cold eyes. Expensive watch. He looked at Vance like she was something gross he found on his shoe. She's still here, the man said to Tae-oh. Tae-oh didn't look up from his desk. She works here. After last night? Especially after last night. The man, she'd later learned he was Lieutenant Kong, stared at her for another few seconds. Then he left. Vance kept cleaning. She didn't react. Didn't ask questions. But she filed the information away. Kong didn't want her here. Good to know who your enemies are. She finished her shift at 11:30. The envelope of cash was still on the counter. She still didn't take it. As she was leaving, Tae-oh spoke from his study. Be careful tonight. She nodded. Didn't ask what he meant. She already knew. On the bus ride home, her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number as last night. Another picture loaded. Her leaving the building tonight. Same clear face. Same timestamp. This time there was a message with it. You should have taken the money and run. She stared at the message for a long time. Then she did something different from last night. She took a screenshot instead of deleting it. She got off the bus 2 stops early. Walked a different way home. Kept checking to make sure nobody was following her. Someone was watching her. Someone thought they were scary. Maybe they were. But they didn't know Zola Vance very well if they thought a threatening text would make her run. The next night was the same. She cleaned. Tae-oh worked in his study. Sometimes he'd ask her simple questions. Where she grew up. How long she'd been cleaning. Small talk, but his eyes were always searching for something deeper. She gave short answers. Never volunteered information. Never asked him about the tattoo or the blood or who Kong was. But she noticed things. Like how Tae-oh kept a gun in the drawer of his desk. How he checked his phone every few minutes but rarely answered it. How his shoulders were always tense, like he was waiting for something bad to happen. On the fourth night, something changed. Tae-oh wasn't in his study when she arrived. The penthouse was empty. The envelope of cash was gone from the counter. She did her job. Cleaned everything. Was about to leave when the elevator doors opened and Tae-oh walked in. He wasn't alone. Kang was with him. And 4 other men she'd never seen before. They all stopped talking when they saw her. 5 pairs of eyes, all cold. All except Tae-oh's. "You're still here," he said. "Just finishing up." Kang said something in Korean. The other men laughed. Not friendly laughs. Tae-oh responded in Korean. His voice was sharp. The laughter stopped. He switched back to English. "Ms. Vance was just leaving. See her to the lobby." One of the men moved toward her. Vance picked up her cleaning cart and walked to the elevator without waiting for an escort. As the doors closed, she caught Tae-oh looking at her. A warning in his eyes. In the lobby, the man who escorted her just stood there, watching her leave. She could feel his eyes on her back all the way to the front door. Outside, it was raining. She didn't have an umbrella. By the time she reached the bus stop, she was soaked. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She expected another picture. Instead, it was a text. "Don't come to work tomorrow. Call in sick." She stared at the message. It wasn't threatening like the others. It almost seemed protective. Was it from Tae-oh? How would he have her number? She got on the bus, still staring at her phone. Should she listen? Was it a trap? She couldn't afford to miss a shift. But she also couldn't afford to walk into danger. When she got home, soaking wet and cold, she made a decision. She'd go to work tomorrow. But she'd be ready for anything. She dug through her closet until she found the small canister of pepper spray her uncle had given her years ago. She tucked it into her uniform pocket. That night, she dreamed of cold eyes watching her. Of marble floors covered in blood. Of a man who almost smiled when she told him she wanted nothing from him. She woke up wondering if that was true. Did she really want nothing? Or was she starting to want something she couldn't afford to want? A man who lived in a world where people bled on marble floors. A man who had others watching her. A man whose eyes saw too much. Dangerous thoughts. She pushed them away. She had a brother to support. Rent to pay. A life that didn't have room for complications like Ryu Tae-oh. But as she got dressed for work, she kept thinking about the text. Don't come to work tomorrow. Maybe she should listen. Just this once. She picked up her phone and called her supervisor. I'm not feeling well. Can't come in tonight. You never call in sick, Vance. First time for everything. She hung up. Sat on her bed. Now what? A whole evening with nowhere to be. It felt strange. Wrong somehow. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Smart choice. Definitely Tae-oh. But how did he know so fast that she'd called in? Another text came through immediately after. Be at Park's barbecue on Vermont at 8. Come alone. Her heart started beating faster. Park's barbecue. That was in Koreatown. Far from her usual places. Was this a trap? Or was he trying to talk to her somewhere safe? She had all day to think about it. All day to change her mind. But somehow, she knew she would go. Because underneath all her caution, all her survival instincts, was something else. Curiosity. And maybe, though she wouldn't admit it even to herself, something more dangerous than that. Vance showed up for work the next night like nothing happened. Nobody at the front desk mentioned her calling in sick yesterday. She rode the elevator up to the penthouse, same as always. When the doors opened, she heard Tae-oh's voice coming from another room. He was on a call, talking low, but she could tell he was annoyed. That wasn't the agreement, she heard him say as she got her cleaning cart ready. I don't care what they're offering. The answer is no. She started in the living room, working her way toward the study. The door was open, but Tae-oh wasn't in there. His voice was coming from the bedroom. The study was her least favorite room to clean. Too many expensive things she was afraid of breaking. Books that looked like nobody ever read them. Fancy pens in glass cases. A desk that probably cost more than her car would, if she had a car. She dusted the bookshelves carefully, one shelf at a time. That's when she heard it. A weird sound. Like a faint buzzing or humming. She froze, listening harder. There it was again. Coming from somewhere in the bookshelf. She moved a few books, trying to find the source. The sound got louder when she moved a thick black book about art or something. Behind the books, tucked up into the crown molding where you'd never see it unless you were looking, was a small black device. It had a tiny red light blinking on it. Vance knew exactly what it was. A listening device. A bug. Someone was recording everything said in this room. Yeah, it's getting serious now. Subscribe and comment where you're watching from, because from here on out, nothing stays quiet. Let's go. She stood there, duster in hand, thinking fast. She had options. She could ignore it. Pretend she never saw it. Keep cleaning and walk away. She could tell Tae-oh. But what if he already knew it was there? What if he put it there himself? Or what if someone was listening right now? She could just grab it and smash it. But then whoever planted it would know someone found it. She decided to do something else. Something that wouldn't point back to her. She raised her duster up high, like she was getting the top shelf, and accidentally bumped the bookshelf. Hard. Books tumbled down. The device fell with them. When she picked it up, the little red light was off. She gave it a quick look. Expensive. Professional. Not something you buy at the mall. She slipped it under some dirty rags in her cleaning cart. Evidence. She was putting the books back on the shelf when she felt someone watching her. She turned around. Tae-oh stood in the doorway. Everything okay in here? Sorry about the noise. I knocked some books over. His eyes moved from her face to the bookshelf to her cleaning cart. Find anything interesting? Did he know? Was he testing her? Just dust, she said. These books don't get read much. He nodded slowly, still watching her. Some things in this apartment aren't what they seem. Most places are like that. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. You're observant, Miss Vance. Have to be in my line of work. He came into the room, moving toward his desk. And what exactly is your line of work? Cleaning up other people's messes. That made him laugh for real. A short, surprised sound. Yes, I suppose you do. He sat at his desk, winced slightly from the wound in his side. I have a meeting soon. You might want to finish up early tonight. I'll be done in 20 minutes. She kept cleaning, but she could feel him watching her. Not in a creepy way. More like he was trying to figure something out. She was almost done when he spoke again. How much do you notice when you're cleaning? She looked up. Depends what you mean. Do you notice when things are out of place? When something doesn't belong? She thought about the device hidden in her cart. Sometimes. He nodded like that answered something important. And what do you do when you notice these things? Depends who they belong to. Another nod. He opened his desk drawer, took out a small notepad, wrote something on it. Tore out the page and held it out to her. She crossed the room and took it. A phone number. If you ever notice something that seems wrong, call that number. Anytime. Day or night. She folded the paper and put it in her pocket. Is this your number? Yes. My private line. Not many people have it. She didn't know what to say to that. So she just nodded and went back to cleaning. 10 minutes later, she was done. As she was leaving, Tae-oh spoke from his desk without looking up. Be careful tonight, Ms. Vance. Some people don't like it when their things get moved. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. She had a listening device in her cleaning cart and a crime boss's private number in her pocket. What the hell was she doing? Outside, the night was cool. She walked faster than usual to the bus stop. She kept the cleaning cart close, feeling the weight of what was hidden inside it. Just as her bus pulled up, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Don't go home. It was Tae-oh. His voice was tight, urgent. What? Your apartment isn't safe tonight. Go somewhere else. How do you know? Just listen. Go to a friend's place. A hotel. Anywhere but home. The bus doors opened. The driver gave her an impatient look. I can't afford a hotel. A frustrated sound from the other end of the line. Where's the nearest decent hotel to you right now? She looked around. There's a Holiday Inn about 6 blocks from here. Go there. Room will be under your name. I'll handle it. But the device you found today? The people who put it there know it stopped working. They'll assume you told me. They'll be looking for you. The bus driver honked. Last chance. I need to get my stuff from home. No. Too dangerous. Just go to the hotel. Now. The line went dead. The bus pulled away without her. Vance stood at the bus stop, cleaning cart beside her, wondering what the hell she'd gotten herself into. A week ago, her biggest worry was making rent. Now people might be trying to kill her. But she believed Tae-oh. Why would he lie about this? She abandoned her cleaning cart in a dumpster, keeping only the listening device wrapped in a rag and stuffed in her pocket. Then she started walking toward the Holiday Inn. She felt exposed on the street. Like someone was watching her. Following her. Every car that slowed down made her heart race. The hotel lobby was bright and generic. The desk clerk looked bored. Checking in. Vance. The clerk typed something. Ah, yes. Prepaid. ID please. She handed over her driver's license, surprised it was really taken care of. The clerk gave her a key card for room 412. The room was plain but clean. Bed, TV, small desk. She locked the door, put the chain on, then checked the bathroom and closet. All clear. She sat on the edge of the bed, the listening device still in her pocket. What now? She was safe for tonight, maybe, but she couldn't hide in a hotel forever. Her phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. Stay there. Coming to talk. Tae-oh again. Coming here? To a Holiday Inn? She turned on the TV for background noise and waited. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. Room service. She opened the door cautiously. It wasn't room service. It was Tae-oh, wearing jeans and a dark hoodie instead of his usual suit. He looked completely different. Almost normal. Can I come in? She stepped aside. He entered quickly, checking the hallway before closing the door. Show me what you found. She took the device from her pocket and handed it to him. He examined it carefully. Korean military grade. Not easy to get. You know who put it there? I have a good idea. He looked up at her. This isn't the first one. They've been watching me for months. Listening. Then why are they interested in me? I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You found their bug. You saw me injured. You know things. I don't know anything. You know enough to be dangerous to them. He sat on the desk chair. They went to your apartment tonight. Her blood went cold. How do you know that? I have people watching your building. They saw 2 men go in. They didn't come out yet. They're still there? Waiting for me? Her voice rose slightly. What about my neighbor? Mrs. Patterson? Is she okay? I don't know. I'm sorry. Vance sat back on the bed, trying to process everything. My brother. I need to warn my brother. Where does he live? Student housing. At community college. She pulled out her phone. Don't call him. They might be monitoring your phone. Here. He handed her his phone. Use mine. But don't tell him where you are or who you're with. She called Malik. He picked up on the 3rd ring. Hello? Malik, it's me. Zola? Whose phone is this? A friend's. Listen, don't go to my apartment for a while, okay? And if anyone asks about me, you don't know where I am. What? Why? What's going on? I can't explain right now. Just trust me. Are you safe where you are? Yeah, I'm at the dorm. Zola, you're scaring me. I'm fine. Just be careful, okay? I'll call you when I can. Love you. She hung up and handed the phone back to Tae-oh. What happens now? You stay here tonight. Tomorrow we move you somewhere safer. For how long? Until I deal with this problem. And how long will that take? He didn't answer right away. I don't know. I can't just disappear. I have a job. Bills. My brother needs me. Your job is covered. I spoke to your supervisor. Family emergency, paid leave. And my brother? What does he need? Money for school. Books. Food. I'll handle it. No. She stood up. I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's my fault you're in this situation. Let me fix it. They stared at each other for a long moment. What do these people want? She finally asked. Why are they after you? Tae-oh sighed. Suddenly he looked tired. It's complicated. I found a military-grade bug in your study and people are waiting to kill me in my apartment. I think I deserve to know why. He nodded slowly. You're right. He paused. I run certain businesses in Koreatown. Someone wants to take them over. They think if they gather enough evidence against me, they can force me out. Evidence of what? Use your imagination. His voice was flat. She studied him. So you're what? Korean Mafia? A slight smile. We don't call it that. What do you call it? Business. He stood up. I should go. Lock the door behind me. Don't leave the room. I'll send someone tomorrow morning. Not Kong. Definitely not Kong. He moved to the door, then turned back. Thank you. For finding the bug. For not running away. I'm not brave. I just don't have anywhere to run to. That's not true. You could have called the police. Told them everything. Gotten protection. And then what? Live and witness protection? Never see my brother again? No thanks. He studied her face. You're an unusual person, Zola Vance. So are you, Ryu Tae-oh. After he left, she locked the door and pushed a chair against it for good measure. Then she lay on the bed, fully dressed, and stared at the ceiling. She was in a holiday and paid for by a Korean crime boss, hiding from people who wanted to kill her, all because she found a bug while dusting. Life was funny sometimes. Not haha funny. The other kind. She must have fallen asleep, because the next thing she knew, sunlight was coming through the curtains and someone was knocking on her door. Ms. Vance? Mr. Ryu sent me. A new day. A new set of problems. She got up and moved the chair from the door, wondering what fresh hell was waiting for her now. 3 days in a hotel room was making Vance crazy. She'd been living out of a plastic bag with toiletries Tae-oh's people brought her. She had 2 sets of clothes. The TV only got basic channels. The walls felt like they were getting closer every hour. She called her supervisor at the cleaning company twice. Both times she got the same answer: family emergency leave is approved. Your job is waiting when you get back. No rush. Tae-oh must have some serious pull to make that happen. On the morning of the 3rd day, she decided she'd had enough. She texted the number Tae-oh gave her. I can't stay in this room anymore. Either I go back to work or I go crazy. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Be ready at 6. Coming to get you. No explanation. Just those 7 words. Typical. She spent the day watching daytime TV and worrying about her brother. She'd talked to him once, using one of Tae-oh's men's phones. He was okay but confused. She hated lying to him. At 6 sharp, someone knocked on her door. Ms. Vance? Mr. Ryu sent me. It wasn't Tae-oh. Just one of his guys. Broad shoulders. Blank face. Gun under his jacket that he thought she couldn't see. Where are we going? She asked as they walked to a black SUV. Helix Towers. Am I cleaning tonight? The man just opened the car door for her. Great talker. The ride was silent. She watched the city pass by and wondered what would be waiting for her. More danger. More lies. Maybe Tae-oh had decided she was too much trouble. When they pulled into the underground garage of the Helix Towers, her heart beat faster. Last time she was here, she'd found a bug and people had tried to kill her. Good times. The private elevator went straight to the penthouse. When the doors opened, Tae-oh was waiting for her. He looked different. He wore dark jeans and a black t-shirt instead of his usual expensive suit. More casual. Less like a crime boss, more like a regular guy. Except no regular guy had eyes that intense. I'm taking you to dinner, he said. She blinked. I'm scheduled to work. I canceled your shift. You still get paid. She didn't move. Why? Because I want to talk somewhere that isn't being watched. Vance thought about it. She could refuse. Could demand more information. Could walk away right now and take her chances. Let me change first, she said. There are clothes in the guest room. Your size. Of course there were. The man thought of everything. She found jeans, a simple black top, and a leather jacket laid out on the bed. Nice stuff, but not flashy. Nothing that would draw attention. She changed quickly. When she came out, Tae-oh looked at her for a beat too long. Ready? He asked. Do I have a choice? Always. They took a different elevator down. Not the service one she usually used. This one needed a special key. In the garage, a black sedan waited. No driver. Tae-oh opened the passenger door for her, then went around and got behind the wheel himself. You drive your own car? Sometimes. He started the engine. When I don't want an audience. They drove in silence for a while. Vance watched the streets change as they headed toward Koreatown. Signs in Korean started appearing. The buildings got closer together. Where are we going? She finally asked. Park's barbecue. Best in the city. You're taking me to Korean barbecue? You eat, right? She almost smiled. Yeah, I eat. Park's barbecue was on Vermont Avenue. From the outside, it didn't look special. Inside was another story. The place was packed. Loud conversations in Korean and English. The smell of marinated meat and garlic hit her as soon as they walked in. The staff clearly knew Tae-oh. Several people bowed slightly. They were shown to a booth in the back corner. Tae-oh sat facing the door. Of course. She noticed two men at a table near the entrance. They wore nice suits but didn't fit in with the families and couples eating dinner. They were watching Tae-oh. Or maybe watching her. Friends of yours, she nodded toward them. Security. You need security to eat dinner? I need security everywhere. He handed her a menu. Order whatever you want. She looked at the menu. Some things had English descriptions, others didn't. When the server came, Tae-oh ordered in Korean. He didn't translate for her. Didn't check if she wanted something different. Just ordered. The server left. Vance waited. My world is paranoid by design, Tae-oh said, studying her face. Everyone is measured. Everyone is tested. Trust is earned in moments, not words. He paused. Tonight is a test. Of me? Of whether you can handle what being around me means. She understood now. This wasn't a date. It was an evaluation. So what am I supposed to do? Act impressed? Scared? Interested? Just be yourself. That's the whole point. The test played out over the next hour. His men kept staring at her. She ignored them completely. The food arrived. Plates of raw meat, side dishes she didn't recognize, lettuce leaves, sauces. Tae-oh said nothing, just watched as she figured out what everything was. She picked up the tongs and started grilling the meat herself. She didn't wait for him to do it. Didn't ask permission. A Korean man stopped by their table. Older, well-dressed. He spoke to Tae-oh in Korean, his tone respectful but urgent. Something about money. A debt. Tae-oh's response was cold. Dismissive. The man's face fell. He nodded quickly and left. Vance kept eating. Didn't comment. Didn't flinch at Tae-oh's sudden coldness. You're not curious? Tae-oh asked after the man left. About what? What he wanted. Why I refused. She shrugged. Not my business. Most people would ask. I'm not most people. That got her a real smile. The first one she'd seen from him. Not the almost smile she was used to. A genuine one that reached his eyes. No, you're not. He picked up his beer. How's the food? Good. You're not much of a talker. Says the man who brought me here to watch me, not chat with me. He laughed. A short, surprised sound. Fair point. They finished eating in comfortable silence. She could feel him watching her. Not in a creepy way. More like he was trying to solve a puzzle. When the check came, he paid in cash. A lot of cash. No credit card trail. You passed, he said as they left the restaurant. I wasn't trying to pass anything. I was just hungry. That earned her another real smile. 2 in one night. Must be a record. In the car, he seemed more relaxed. Like a decision had been made. So now what? She asked. I go back to the hotel? Hide some more? No. You're coming back to the penthouse. Her stomach dropped. To clean? To stay. It's the safest place right now. I can't just live in your house. It has 5 bedrooms. You'll hardly see me. That's not the point. He stopped at a red light and looked at her. What is the point, then? I don't want to be owned. I'm not buying you, Zola. I'm protecting you. There's a difference. And what do you get out of it? The light turned green. He focused on driving again. Peace of mind, he said after a minute. Knowing that an innocent person isn't being hurt because of me. Is that all? Should there be more? She didn't answer. They drove in silence the rest of the way. The penthouse felt different when she entered it this time. Not as a cleaner, but as a guest. It was strange. I had your things brought from your apartment, Tae-oh said, pointing to a suitcase by the guest room door. Your neighbor Mrs. Patterson packed it. She said to tell you she's fine. You talked to Mrs. Patterson? My people did. She's protective of you. She would have hit your guys with a broom if they tried anything. So I heard. He smiled slightly. There's food in the kitchen. The blue bedroom is yours. Bathroom attached. Security is downstairs 24/7. And where will you be? Around. I have business to take care of. He was pulling away again. Being the boss, not the man who smiled at her over Korean barbecue. What happens next? She asked. Get some sleep. We'll talk tomorrow. He walked into his study and closed the door. Just like that, she was dismissed. Vance went to the blue bedroom. It was bigger than her entire apartment. The suitcase sat on a bench at the end of the king-sized bed. She opened it. Mrs. Patterson had packed her clothes, her toiletries, and, Vance's heart squeezed, the photo of her mom. The old lady had even wrapped it in a t-shirt to protect the frame. She set the photo on the nightstand and sat on the edge of the bed. What was she doing here? Living in a crime boss's penthouse? Eating fancy Korean barbecue while people tried to kill her? 3 weeks ago, her biggest worry was making rent on time. Now she was caught in some kind of gang war. But that wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was how she felt when Tae-oh smiled at her. How her heart beat faster when he looked at her too long. How part of her wanted to see what was behind that wall he kept around himself. Dangerous thoughts. She needed to be smarter than this. She took a shower in the fancy bathroom with its multiple shower heads and marble tile. Used her own cheap shampoo instead of the expensive stuff already there. Small rebellion. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, she noticed something on the desk across the room. A burner phone. A note beside it. Use this to call your brother. It's secure. She picked up the phone. Called Malik. He picked up right away. Hello? It's me. Zola? What the hell is going on? Where are you? I'm safe. Can't tell you where. Are you okay? I'm fine, but I'm worried about you. Is this about money? Are you in trouble? It's complicated. But I'm handling it. Just lay low for a bit, okay? You sound different. I'm tired. No, it's something else. Pause. There's a guy, isn't there? She closed her eyes. It's not like that. Oh my God, there is. Malik, stop. It's not what you think. Then what is it? What could she say? I'm living with a Korean crime boss because people are trying to kill me? Yeah, that would go over well. I'll explain everything when I can. Promise. Just be careful, okay? I love you. Love you too, sis. Be safe. She hung up. Put the phone down. Stared at her reflection in the mirror across the room. Who was this person looking back at her? The woman in a fancy penthouse with wet hair and a fluffy towel? She didn't recognize herself anymore. But deeper down, past all the worry and confusion, was a feeling she didn't want to admit. A tiny spark of excitement. Her life had been the same grind for so long. Work. Sleep. Pay bills. Repeat. Now everything was different. Dangerous, yes. Scary, absolutely. But also alive in a way she'd never felt before. And that terrified her more than any gun ever could. Morning looked different from the 34th floor. Vance stood at the window of the blue bedroom, watching the sun rise over Los Angeles. The city looked peaceful from up here. Clean. Not like the crowded streets and graffiti she was used to. 3 days had passed since the Korean barbecue place. 3 days of living in Tae-oh's penthouse. It still felt weird. Wrong somehow. Like she was wearing someone else's clothes. She hadn't seen much of Tae-oh. He came and went at strange hours. Sometimes she'd hear him on the phone in his study, speaking rapid Korean. Sometimes she wouldn't see him all day. The kitchen was always stocked with food. The cleaning service, not her company, came when she was in her room. Security stayed by the elevator downstairs. It was like living in a very fancy hotel where she was the only guest. Until now. Last night, everything changed. She was reading in the living room when Tae-oh burst through the front door, his face hard. 2 of his men were with him. We have a problem, he'd said. Kong knows you're here. One of his men was on the phone, talking fast. The other was checking the windows, closing blinds. What's happening? She'd asked. Lockdown. Nobody in or out for a while. How long is a while? As long as it takes. And just like that, her fancy hotel became a prison. Now it was morning, and she could feel the tension in the air. Tae-oh had stayed all night. His men had left. Just the 2 of them in this giant apartment with nowhere to go. She got dressed in jeans and a t-shirt from the clothes Mrs. Patterson had packed. No point wearing her cleaning uniform anymore. That life felt far away now. When she came out to the kitchen, Tae-oh was already there. Black sweatpants. Gray t-shirt. Hair messy like he hadn't slept. He was making coffee. Morning, he said without looking up. Morning. She stood awkwardly by the counter. So what are the rules? Now he looked at her. Rules? For this lockdown. What can I do? What can I do? He poured coffee into 2 mugs. Handed her one. You stay in the penthouse. Don't answer the door. Don't make calls on anything but the secure phone I gave you. Don't stand too close to the windows. Sounds like a prison. Prisons don't have 800 thread count sheets. Still feels like a cage. He sipped his coffee, watching her over the rim of his mug. Would you prefer to be out there where Kang's men can find you? I'd prefer to not be hunted at all. That makes 2 of us. He set his mug down. I have work to do. Make yourself comfortable. There are books, TV, whatever you want. He walked to his study. Door closed. Conversation over. Great start to lockdown. The first day dragged by. Vance read. Watched TV. Explored the parts of the penthouse she hadn't cleaned before. Tried not to think about the fact that she was trapped here with a man who both scared and fascinated her. Tae-oh stayed in his study most of the day. When he came out for lunch, they ate in silence. Not comfortable silence. The kind where there are too many things unsaid. How long will this last? She finally asked. Hard to say. Depends how quickly I can resolve the situation. And how do you resolve it? He looked at her for a long moment. Best you don't know the details. Right. Plausible deniability. Protection. For both of us. More silence. She pushed her food around the plate. Your brother is safe, he said suddenly. I have someone watching his dorm. She looked up, surprised. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He stood, taking his plate to the sink. This is my fault. All of it. The least I can do is make sure your family isn't hurt. Before she could respond, he was back in his study. Door closed. Walls up. That night, she couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft. The room too quiet. She was used to street noise, neighbors fighting, cars backfiring. Up here, all she could hear was the hum of the air conditioning. She got up around 2 a.m. Maybe some warm milk or something would help. The penthouse was dark except for a light coming from the living room. She followed it. Tae-oh sat by the window, looking out at the city. A glass of something amber in his hand. He didn't turn when she entered, but she knew he heard her. Can't sleep, he asked. Too quiet up here. Most people complain about city noise. I'm used to it. Silence feels wrong. He nodded like that made sense. Want a drink? What is it? Scotch. Expensive. I'm more of a cheap beer girl. That got her a small smile. There's beer in the fridge. Help yourself. She got a beer and came back to the living room. Sat in a chair across from him. So this is what you do at 2 a.m.? Drink fancy scotch and stare at the city? Sometimes. He took a sip. Sometimes I clean my gun. Sometimes I make plans. Sometimes I just sit and think about how I got here. And where exactly is here? Locked in my own home. Hunted by my own lieutenant. Putting an innocent woman in danger. He finished his drink in one swallow. Not where I planned to be at 35. It was the most personal thing he'd said to her. A tiny crack in the wall. What did you plan? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. My father wanted me to be a doctor. Go to America. Live the dream. He shook his head. Instead, I'm running his businesses. Doing things he swore I'd never have to do. What happened to him? Heart attack. 8 years ago. He stared into his empty glass. I was getting my MBA at USC when he died. Had to go back to Korea for the funeral. Never finished school. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm good at what I do. And what exactly do you do? Besides the obvious. He looked at her then. Really looked at her. Import, export. Real estate. Gambling. Protection. Loans. He paused. Things the police don't approve of. And Kong wants your businesses? Kong wants everything. The territory. The money. The respect. Another pause. He thinks I'm weak because I don't handle problems the old way. The old way? Violence first. Questions later. She took a swig of her beer. Is he right? Are you weak? Most men would get angry at that question. Tae-oh just looked thoughtful. Maybe. My father ruled by fear. I wanted to rule by respect. He set his glass down. But respect is hard to earn and easy to lose. Fear is simpler. Fear doesn't last. No. But it's effective in the short term. They sat in silence for a while. The city twinkled below them. Why did you help me that night? He asked suddenly. When I was bleeding. You could have left. Called the police. Anything but help me. She thought about it. I don't know. Instinct, I guess. Most people's instinct isn't to stitch up a stranger. I'm not most people. He smiled at that. A real one. No. You're not. Day 2 of lockdown was different. Something had shifted between them after their late-night talk. The silence wasn't as heavy. Tae-oh came out of his study more often. Asked if she needed anything. Even suggested they play cards to pass the time. I don't know many card games, she admitted. I'll teach you. He pulled out a deck. My grandfather taught me this one. The game was simple but required strategy. She caught on quick. Beat him twice. You're a natural, he said, sounding impressed. Or you're letting me win. I never let anyone win. She believed him. That night, she cooked dinner. Nothing fancy. Rice. Vegetables. Some chicken she found in the fridge. Basic food, but it was what she knew how to make. Tae-oh watched her from the breakfast bar. You don't have to cook, he said. We could order in. I thought we were on lockdown. My security can bring food up. I like cooking. Keeps me busy. She stirred the rice. Besides, I hate feeling useless. When dinner was ready, they ate at the actual dining table. Like normal people. It was almost nice. This is good, he said, sounding surprised. Don't sound so shocked. I can cook. I just thought. That the maid lives on ramen and frozen pizza. He had the grace to look embarrassed. Sorry. She shrugged. I learned to cook when my mom got sick. Someone had to feed the family. Your mother died? I'm sorry. Cancer. 3 years ago. And your father? Left when I was 10. Never came back. He nodded slowly. So it's just you and your brother? Yep. The unstoppable Vance siblings. You take care of him. Someone has to. You take care of everyone, it seems. She looked up, surprised by his tone. Almost soft. I do what needs doing. Even stitch up strange men who bleed on your floor. Even that. Their eyes met across the table. Held for a beat too long. She looked away first. After dinner, they watched a movie. Some action thing he picked. She fell asleep halfway through, exhausted from the stress of the past few days. She woke up with her head on his shoulder. His arm around her. Both of them on the couch. He was awake. Watching her. Sorry, she mumbled, sitting up. Don't be. The air felt charged suddenly. Heavy with something neither of them was ready to name. I should go to bed, she said. Probably. Neither of them moved. Tae-oh. Zola. They spoke at the same time. Stopped at the same time. You first, he said. Why am I really here? In your home? Under your protection? I'm nobody to you. The question hung between them. He took his time answering. You stopped being nobody the moment you didn't run away. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. Day 3 of lockdown felt different. Tense in a new way. They moved around each other carefully. Too aware of each other. She caught him watching her read. He caught her watching him make coffee. Small moments that felt bigger than they should. That afternoon, she found him in the living room, trying to reach something on a high shelf. He winced, his hand going to his side. "Your stitches bothering you?" she asked. "A little. They pull sometimes." "Let me check them." He looked surprised. "You don't have to. I'm the one who put them in. Let me see if they're healing right." He hesitated, then lifted his shirt. The wound looked better than she expected. Still red, but healing clean. Her stitches were holding. "Not bad," she said, examining her work. "Another week or so before they can come out." "You did a good job." "I know." Her fingers lingered on his skin a moment too long. She felt his muscles tense under her touch. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "Taking care of me." Again. She looked up. Found him watching her face. They were standing too close. "Someone has to," she said, echoing their conversation from last night. His hand caught hers before she could pull away. Held it against his side. Zola, just her name. Nothing else. But the way he said it made her heart beat faster. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Probably. I work for you." "Not anymore. People are trying to kill us." All the more reason not to wait. She couldn't argue with that logic. Not when he was looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking for years. "I need to know something first," she said. "What?" "Why me?" "You could have anyone. Rich. Beautiful. Connected. Why the housekeeper from South LA?" He thought for a moment. "Because you saw me bleeding on the floor and your first instinct was to help, not run. Because you don't want anything from me. Because when everyone else is lying to my face, you tell me the truth." He touched her cheek. "And because when I'm with you, I remember the man I wanted to be before all this." It was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. And it terrified her. "I've been trying to push you away since that night you stitched me up," he continued. "But I can't. Every time I tell myself to let you go, I find another reason to keep you close." "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not of Kong or guns or any of that." "Of what, then?" "Of this. Of wanting something for myself for once." "What do you want, Zola?" "I want things I'm not supposed to have." She met his eyes. "Things I've never let myself want before." His other hand came up to cup her face. "Let me give them to you." When he kissed her, it felt like crossing a line she could never uncross. But she didn't care. For once in her life, she was choosing something just for herself. She pulled back slightly. "There's something you should know." "What?" "I've never been with anyone like this. I was always too busy taking care of everyone else. Never had time for." She trailed off, embarrassed. Instead of pulling away, his eyes softened. Almost reverent. "We don't have to do anything tonight." "I know. But I want to." She held his gaze. "I just needed you to understand, this means something to me. It's not casual. It's not casual for me either." Later, much later, they lay tangled together in his bed. The city lights made patterns on the ceiling. His heartbeat was steady under her ear. "You were my only dream," she whispered, not sure if he was still awake. "The only thing I've ever wanted just for me." He didn't answer. But she felt something wet hit her shoulder. A tear. Ryu Tae-oh, the man who controlled an empire, was crying silently in the dark. And somehow, that meant more than any words he could have said. Vance woke up slowly, feeling warm and safe for the first time in weeks. Last night with Tae-oh had been perfect. Not just the physical part, but the way he'd held her afterward. The way he whispered her name like it was something precious. The tear she'd felt on her shoulder. She reached across the bed, expecting to find him there. Empty sheets. Cold. She sat up, suddenly wide awake. The clock read 7:13 a.m. Where was he? She pulled on her clothes from last night and went to look for him. The penthouse felt different in the morning light. Colder somehow. Tae-oh was in the kitchen, fully dressed in a suit. Hair perfectly styled. Making coffee like nothing had happened. His face was blank. That mask he wore for everyone else. But last night, he'd let that mask drop for her. Hadn't he? Morning, she said. He barely glanced at her. Morning. Something was wrong. She could feel it, like a cold draft under a door. What happened? She asked. Nothing. I just got a call. From who? He poured coffee into a mug. Didn't offer her any. Didn't answer her question. Tae-oh, talk to me. What's going on? Business. Nothing for you to worry about. His voice was different. Distant. Like they were strangers again. Like last night never happened. Don't do that, she said. Don't shut me out. He finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. This isn't a romance novel, Zola. Last night was nice. But it doesn't change anything. The words hit her like a slap. She stepped back. Nice? That's what you call it? What do you want me to say? The truth would be a start. He sighed, checked his watch. I have meetings all day. Security will stay posted. Don't leave the penthouse. And just like that, he walked past her. No kiss. No touch. Nothing. So that's it, she called after him. One night and you're done with me? He paused at the door. For a second, she thought she saw something flicker across his face. Pain, maybe. But then it was gone. I never promised you anything. The elevator doors closed. He was gone. Vance stood in the kitchen, coffee forgotten. What the hell just happened? Last night he'd said she meant something to him. That it wasn't casual. That he wanted to be with her. Had it all been lies? Was she just another conquest? The maid he wanted to sleep with before throwing away? She went back to the blue bedroom. Her bedroom. Not his. She needed to remember that. The next 3 days were torture. Tae-oh barely came home. When he did, he stayed in his study with the door closed. He took his meals alone. Slept alone. Acted like she was a stranger he was forced to house. She heard fragments of phone conversations. Words like territory, and compromise, and deadline. Once, she heard him shouting in Korean. Something crashed against a wall. Then silence. She tried talking to him. He gave her one-word answers. She tried giving him space. He didn't seem to notice. She tried being angry. He just walked away. On the third day, she caught him staring at her mom's photo. The one Mrs. Patterson had packed. He was holding it, looking at it with an expression she couldn't read. You can't protect me by shutting me out, she said from the doorway. He set the photo down carefully. I can try. And I can refuse to let you. For a moment, the mask slipped. Just a crack. Just enough to see the man from that night. The one who'd held her like she was precious. It's not that simple, he said. Make it simple. He shook his head. Some things can't be simplified. Some choices have consequences you can't imagine. Try me. But he just walked past her. Again. Always walking away. That night, she found a note slipped under her door. Tomorrow. 4 p.m. Lobby. Be ready. No signature. But it was his handwriting. Ready for what? To leave? To talk? To be thrown out? She slept badly, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe he'd found a way to deal with Kong. Maybe they could finally leave this penthouse. Maybe things could go back to how they were that night. She dressed carefully the next morning. Jeans. The black top he'd given her that first night at Park's barbecue. Her own sneakers, worn but comfortable. Ready for anything. At 3:55 p.m., she took the elevator down to the lobby. Tae-oh was waiting. Not alone. Kong was there with 2 other men. All in suits. All watching her with cold eyes. Tae-oh stood with his back to the reception desk. His face was stone. The mask firmly in place. Ms. Vance, he said formally. Like they were strangers. What's going on? She asked. Your services are no longer needed. You're dismissed. Don't come back. The words didn't make sense at first. Like he was speaking a language she didn't understand. What? You heard me. Take your things and leave. Kong smirked. The other men watched impassively. She searched Tae-oh's face for any sign of the man she'd known. The one who cried in the dark. The one who said she mattered. There was nothing. Just cold, empty eyes. You're serious. Completely. She waited for more. An explanation. An apology. Anything. Nothing came. Fine, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Goodbye, Mr. Ryu. She walked out of the Helix Towers without looking back. Refused to give Kong or any of them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Outside, the sun was too bright. The traffic too loud. The world too normal for how destroyed she felt inside. Her phone was dead. She had nowhere to go. No job to return to. No apartment that was safe. But she had her pride. And right now, that was the only thing keeping her from falling apart on the sidewalk. She walked to the bus stop. She'd figure out the rest later. What Vance didn't see was what happened after she left. The moment the glass doors closed behind her, Tae-oh turned to Kong. She's out. She's no longer useful to you as leverage. Kang's smirk grew wider. We'll see. We had a deal. She walks away. You get what you want. Deals change. People change. Kong stepped closer. You've gone soft, Tae-oh. The old boss would never let a woman affect his judgment. The old boss is dead. And if you touch her, you'll wish you were too. Kong laughed. Big words from a man who's about to lose everything. He nodded to his men. They left, confident. Victorious. Tae-oh stood alone in the lobby. His hand was shaking. The one Vance had held that night. He pulled out his phone. Looked at a photo he'd taken of her while she was reading. A secret he kept. She didn't know it existed. I'm sorry, he whispered. His voice broke on the words. Vance rode the bus with no destination in mind. Just away. Away from the Helix Towers. Away from Tae-oh. Away from the biggest mistake of her life. How could she have been so stupid? To believe a man like that could care about someone like her? To think she was anything more than a convenient distraction? The worst part wasn't the humiliation. It was the loss. For a few days, she'd felt something real. Something that made all the danger worth it. Now that was gone too. She ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of Koreatown. Paid cash for one night. All she could afford. Inside the small room, she finally let herself cry. Ugly, painful sobs that left her gasping for air. She cried for the woman who had been foolish enough to give herself completely to someone who didn't value the gift. She cried for the dreams she'd allowed herself to have, just for a moment. When the tears finally stopped, she felt empty. Hollow. But calm. She needed a plan. She needed money. She needed somewhere safe to stay. Her phone was still dead. She didn't have her charger. Another thing left behind in that penthouse. She lay on the motel bed, staring at the water stains on the ceiling. Tomorrow she would figure things out. Find a way to contact her brother. Get her job back. Start over. Tonight, she would just try to forget the feel of Tae-oh's hands on her skin. The sound of his voice in the dark. The tear that fell on her shoulder. She must have fallen asleep, because a knock on the door jolted her awake. The clock read 2:17 a.m. Her heart pounded. Had they found her? Was it Kang's men? The knock came again. Softer this time. Ms. Vance? Mr. Ryu sent me. She recognized the voice. One of Tae-oh's security guys. Not Kang's. She approached the door cautiously. What do you want? To give you this. She cracked the door. The man held out a package. Small. Wrapped in brown paper. What is it? He said you'd know what to do with it. The man left before she could ask more questions. She closed the door. Locked it. Stared at the package like it might explode. Finally, she opened it. Inside was a burner phone. Different from the one she'd had before. Fully charged. One number programmed into it. As she looked at it, the phone rang. That one number calling. She almost didn't answer. Almost threw it against the wall. Almost screamed. Instead, she pressed the green button. Don't hang up, Tae-oh's voice. Urgent. Different from the cold tone he'd used in the lobby. She said nothing. What happened in that lobby wasn't real. Kang was testing whether you were leverage. If I showed any emotion, any weakness, he'd use you to control me. So you humiliated me instead. I saved your life. You broke my heart. Long silence. I know, he finally said. His voice rough. And I'm going to fix it. But first, I need to end this. Kang is making his move tonight. Why should I believe anything you say? Because despite everything, you know when I'm telling the truth. You always have. She closed her eyes. Tried to shut out his voice. Tried not to remember how it felt when he held her. The night we spent together, he continued. That was real. Everything I said was real. Everything I felt was real. Stop. I'm doing this for you, Zola. To keep you safe. I never asked you to. You didn't have to. A pause. Stay in that motel. Don't leave. There's cash in the phone case. Enough for a week. By then, this will be over. And then what? Then we can start again. If you'll let me. She wanted to believe him. Wanted it so badly it hurt. But the image of his cold eyes in the lobby kept flashing in her mind. How do I know this isn't another game? You don't. You have to trust me. One last time. Trust. Such a simple word for such a complicated thing. Goodbye, Tae-oh. She hung up. Sat on the edge of the bed. Stared at the phone in her hand. The man who had just called her sounded like the Tae-oh she knew. The one from that night. The one who cried in her arms. But the man in the lobby had been someone else. Cold. Cruel. Dismissive. Which one was real? And more importantly, which one would she let herself believe in? 2 weeks since she'd seen her apartment. It felt like years. Vance stood in the doorway, key in hand, staring at her own living space like it belonged to a stranger. Something was different. The place was clean. Not just tidy. Actually clean. The break-in damage was fixed. Her few belongings were arranged neatly. The window that had been cracked was replaced. Even the bathroom tiles looked scrubbed. Someone had been here. Recently. She closed the door. Locked it. Put the chain on. Then she sat on her bed in the dark, still wearing her jacket. What now? She had no job. No money except what Tae-oh had left in that phone case. No plan. And worst of all, she had no idea what was true anymore. Had Tae-oh really staged that scene in the lobby to protect her? Or was the phone call just another manipulation? Her own phone, finally charged at the motel, buzzed beside her. Carmen. Her friend from the cleaning service. Her only real friend in this city, if she was being honest. She let it ring 5 times before answering. Girl, you disappeared for a week. What happened? Carmen's voice was loud, worried, familiar. Hey, see. Don't hey see me. I've been calling you for days. Your supervisor said family emergency, but your brother didn't know anything. I thought you were dead. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. You sound like someone ran over your dog. I don't have a dog. Zola. Talk to me. What's going on? Vance closed her eyes. Where would she even start? Korean crime bosses? Death threats? The night she spent with Tae-oh? I made a mistake, she said finally. What kind of mistake? The kind you don't recover from. Silence on the other end. Then, is this about a guy? Vance almost laughed. Almost. Yeah. But not the way you think. So tell me. I can't. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Start at the beginning. The beginning. Was that the night she found Tae-oh bleeding? Or the moment she noticed the bug in his study? Or maybe it was when he took her to Park's barbecue and she realized she was being tested? I trusted someone I shouldn't have. And he broke that trust. Did he hurt you? Because I will cut a man. Not physically. Just. She sighed. I thought he cared about me. Ah. That kind of hurt. Carmen's voice softened. You want me to come over? I got ice cream and tequila in my car. For the first time in days, Vance smiled. Not tonight. I'm tired. Just need to sleep. Tomorrow then. No arguments. I'm coming over after my shift. We're talking this out. After they hung up, Vance sat in the silence of her apartment. Funny how quickly you could go from sleeping in 800 thread count sheets to a lumpy mattress on the floor. She was about to take a shower when someone knocked on her door. Her heart jumped. Tae-oh? Kong? Carmen ignoring her request for space. She approached quietly. Looked through the peephole. A delivery guy. Package in hand. Ms. Vance? Delivery. She cracked the door, chain still on. I didn't order anything. It's already paid for. Just need a signature. She signed. Took the small box. Closed and locked the door. The package was light. No return address. Just her name, neatly typed. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a new burner phone. And a note, turn it on. She hesitated. Another message from Tae-oh? Or something worse? She turned on the phone. Immediately, it rang. Unknown number. Hello? Zola. Tae-oh's voice. Tired. Strained. Don't hang up. What do you want? To explain. Everything. But not over the phone. It's not safe. Nothing about you is safe. A pause. Fair point. Another pause. I need to see you. In person. Why would I agree to that? Because despite everything, you want answers. And I'm the only one who has them. She hated that he was right. When? Tonight. 9 o'clock. Text this number when you're ready. I'll send a car. No. I'll meet you somewhere. Public. Not possible. Too dangerous. Then no deal. He sighed. All right. There's a coffee shop on Wilshire. 3 blocks from your apartment. I'll meet you there. Fine. She hung up. Stared at the phone. Was she really going to do this? Meet the man who had humiliated her, broken her heart, maybe lied to her? Yes. Because she needed to know the truth. Needed to see his face when he told it. At 8:55, she walked into the coffee shop. Nearly empty this late. Just a barista cleaning up and a couple in the corner. No Tae-oh. She ordered a coffee. Sat facing the door. Waited. 9:05, no sign of him. 9:10, nothing. 9:15, the burner phone buzzed. He's in the garage. They have him. Her blood went cold. She knew exactly who they were. Another text came through, underground parking. Level 3. South entrance. She should run. Call the police. Walk away and never look back. Instead, she left money on the table and headed for the door. The parking garage was 3 blocks away. Connected to a high-rise office building. During the day, it would be busy. At night, it was nearly empty. She took the stairs down to level 3. Each step felt heavier than the last. The garage was cold. Concrete and shadows. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, some of them flickering. She heard voices before she saw them. Echoing off the concrete walls. Then she saw the scene from her nightmares. 3 men. Kang in the center. Tae-oh on his knees, hands tied behind his back. His shoulder was bleeding. The same one she'd stitched up weeks ago. She stepped out of the stairwell. Let him go. Everyone turned. Kang smiled. Not a nice smile. The maid. How perfect. One of Kang's men moved behind her. She felt cold metal press against the back of her head. A gun. Vance, run. Tae-oh shouted, struggling against his bonds. Too late for that, Kang said. He turned to Tae-oh. You see? I knew she'd come for you. So predictable. Let her go, Tae-oh said. His voice was steady, but his eyes were desperate. This is between us. Not anymore. Kang nodded to the man holding the gun to her head. On her knees. The gun pressed harder. She knelt. Now, Kang said, turning back to Tae-oh. Let's discuss terms. What do you want? Everything. Your territory. Your businesses. Your contacts. Kang smiled again. Sign it all over to me, or watch her die. Tae-oh's face went blank. That mask she hated so much. But his eyes were on fire. Let her leave. Then we'll talk. No, I don't think so. She's insurance. The pieces clicked together in Vance's mind. The lobby scene. The phone call. Tae-oh had been trying to protect her from exactly this moment. And she'd walked right into it. Choose, Kang said. Your territory or the maid. Tae-oh's jaw clenched. His hand, still bound behind his back, was shaking. Vance wanted to tell him to save himself. To forget she existed. But when she opened her mouth, different words came out. I've always wanted you. Not the boss. Not the money. Just you. Something broke in Tae-oh's face. His shoulders dropped. His eyes went glassy with tears. A tear slid down his cheek. Then another. I'll sign, he said, his voice rough. Whatever you want. Just let her go. Kang laughed. The great Ryu Tae-oh, undone by a cleaning girl. He pulled papers from his jacket. Sign these. Transfer of all holdings, effective immediately. One of the men untied Tae-oh's hands. Gave him a pen. As Tae-oh signed each page, his eyes never left Vance's face. When he finished, Kang took the papers. Check them carefully. Now let her go, Tae-oh said. I don't think so. Kang nodded to the man behind Vance. She knows too much. She's a liability. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Tae-oh lunged forward as the gun pressed harder against Vance's head. Kang stepped back, surprised. The third man raised his weapon. A shot rang out. Tae-oh's body slammed into her, knocking her sideways. The gun at her head went off but missed, the bullet hitting concrete. More shots. Shouting. The sound of running feet. When she could focus again, Tae-oh was on top of her. Blood spreading across his shirt. His eyes unfocused. Tae-oh. She rolled him gently onto his back. Blood everywhere. No, no, no. Kang and his men were gone. Papers scattered on the ground. Tae-oh's eyes found hers. You okay? You idiot. You got shot. Better me than you. He tried to smile. Failed. I'm sorry. For the lobby. For everything. Shut up. Save your strength. She pulled out her phone. Dialed 911. I need an ambulance. Shooting. Underground parking garage on Wilshire. Level 3. Hurry. She pressed her jacket against the wound. So much blood. Why did you come? He asked, his voice weak. After what I did? Because I needed answers. And now? Now I need you to stay alive, you stupid man. Tears streamed down her face. You hear me? Stay with me. His eyes were drifting closed. Always wanted to stay with you. Tae-oh. Look at me. She pressed harder on the wound. The ambulance is coming. Just hold on. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Never meant to hurt you. His eyes closed. Love you. His body went limp. No. Tae-oh. She shook him. Wake up. Don't you dare die on me. The sirens were close now. Almost there. Please, she whispered. Please don't leave me. The paramedics found her like that. Covered in his blood. Begging him to stay. Everything after was a blur. The ambulance ride. The hospital waiting room. Police asking questions she barely heard. Relationship to the victim? We're. What were they? Lovers? For one night. Friends? Hardly. He's important to me. Hours passed. No news. She sat in a plastic chair, still wearing her blood-stained clothes. Staring at nothing. Carmen showed up. Someone had called her from Vance's phone. Jesus, Zola. Her friend took one look at her and sat down. What the hell happened? He got shot. Because of me. Who got shot? What are you talking about? Vance just shook her head. Couldn't explain. Not now. More hours. More waiting. Carmen stayed, not asking questions anymore. Just being there. Finally, a doctor approached. Ms. Vance? She stood up so fast she got dizzy. Yes? How is he? He's stable. The bullet missed major arteries, but he lost a lot of blood. We removed it successfully. He's going to live? Barring complications, yes. Her legs gave out. Carmen caught her before she hit the floor. Can I see him? Vance asked. He's in recovery now. Family only. I am his family. The lie came easily. Please. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. He's still unconscious from the anesthesia. Tae-oh looked small in the hospital bed. Pale. Tubes and wires everywhere. Bandages on his shoulder. She approached slowly. Took his hand. It was warm. Alive. You stupid, brave man, she whispered. Why did you do that? Why did you take a bullet for me? No answer. Just the steady beep of the heart monitor. She sat in the chair beside his bed. Held his hand. Watched his chest rise and fall. When the nurse came to tell her time was up, she didn't want to leave. But she had no right to stay. No claim on this man. I'll be back, she promised, not knowing if he could hear her. In the hallway, Carmen was waiting. Had cleaned up Vance's face with wet wipes. Had brought her a clean shirt. You ready to talk now? Carmen asked gently. Not yet. Soon. Okay. Let's get you home. You need sleep. Home. Such a strange concept now. Was it her apartment? The penthouse she'd shared with Tae-oh for those brief days? Or was it wherever he was? She let Carmen lead her out of the hospital. Let her friend drive her home. Let herself be tucked into bed like a child. But before she slept, she made a promise to herself. When Tae-oh woke up, she'd be there. And this time, they'd both tell the truth. The whole truth. No more games. No more masks. No more fear. She fell asleep with his words echoing in her mind. Love you. 2 words. Simple. Powerful. Maybe even true. Vance stared at the logo on the side of the white van. Vance Spotless Services. Simple blue letters. Nothing fancy. But every time she saw it, her chest did this weird tight thing that might have been pride. 1 year. That's how long it had been since the garage. Since the shooting. Since she'd last seen Tae-oh. 365 days of building something from nothing. Her phone buzzed. Another client calling about a quote. That made 5 this week. They were getting busy enough that she might need to hire a 4th person. Vance Spotless, this is Zola. Hi, I saw your ad online. Do you do move-out cleaning for apartments? Sure do. What's the size and location? As she took down the details, she glanced at the small office she rented in a strip mall in South LA. Just a desk, some filing cabinets, a mini fridge, and a coffee maker that had seen better days. But it was hers. After booking the new client, she checked her schedule. Carmen was handling the West Side jobs today. Miguel and Danny were at a big house in Silver Lake. She had a consultation at 2 o'clock with a potential commercial client, an accounting firm that needed regular service. This was her life now. Normal. Safe. No guns. No Korean crime bosses. No blood on marble floors. Her office door opened and Malik walked in, carrying 2 coffees. Thought you could use this. He handed her one. You look tired. Her little brother wasn't so little anymore. 21. Graduated from community college last month. Working at a tech startup doing something with coding that she didn't really understand. Late night with the books, she said. End of month billing. He sat in the chair across from her desk. You need to hire someone to do that stuff. Can't afford it yet. Business is good though, right? Getting there. She sipped the coffee. Just how she liked it. How's the new job? Good. Weird hours. Lots of energy drinks. But the money's decent. They fell into easy conversation. This was their routine now. Coffee once a week. Dinner on Sundays. Normal sibling stuff. What they didn't talk about was last year. The 3 weeks he couldn't reach her. The night she called him from the hospital, covered in someone else's blood. The man whose name she never mentioned but whose absence hung around her like a shadow. You coming to dinner on Sunday? He asked. I'm making Mom's lasagna. Wouldn't miss it. She smiled. Hard to believe you're cooking now. Had to learn. Couldn't live on ramen forever. After he left, she stared at the pile of invoices on her desk. Her new life. The one she built from scratch after everything fell apart. 3 days in the hospital, watching Tae-oh fight for his life. Then 2 weeks of visiting daily while he recovered. They never really talked about what happened. About the words he'd said before he passed out. About what came next. And then one day, she arrived to find his room empty. Discharged, the nurse said. No forwarding address. No message for her. She'd gone to the penthouse. His security was gone. The place looked empty. Her keycard didn't work. Just, gone. Like he'd never existed. She shook off the memories and focused on work. That's what had saved her this past year. Throwing herself into building something that was hers. Something no one could take away. The commercial consultation went well. The accounting firm wanted service 3 times a week. A solid contract that would help with cash flow. By the time she locked up the office, it was after 6 o'clock. Her new apartment was just a 15-minute drive away. Nicer than her old place. 2 bedrooms instead of 1. An actual kitchen with a stove that worked properly. Still modest, but comfortable. She'd barely kicked off her shoes when her phone rang. Carmen. Just checking we're still on for tomorrow. Brentwood job at 9 o'clock? Yeah, I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock. How'd the consultation go? Good. They want to sign a contract. Nice. Carmen paused. You okay? You sound off. I'm fine. Just tired. Liar. It's the anniversary, isn't it? Vance sighed. Carmen was the only person who knew the whole story. The only one she'd told about Tae-oh, about what really happened that night in the garage. I hadn't thought about it, she lied. Sure you hadn't. That's why you've been walking around like a zombie all week. Can we not do this tonight? Fine. But you're coming out with me Friday. Drinks. Dancing. Maybe meeting some normal men who don't get shot protecting you from Korean gangsters. Carmen. Non-negotiable. We're something that doesn't smell like bleach. After they hung up, Vance made a sad dinner of microwaved leftovers and ate it standing at her kitchen counter, scrolling through emails on her phone. This was her life now. Work. Home. Sleep. Repeat. Safe. Predictable. Empty. She'd dated a bit. Nothing serious. Nothing that made her feel anything close to what she'd felt with Tae-oh. Most nights ended with polite goodbyes and deleted phone numbers. How do you explain to a normal guy that you've been ruined for ordinary relationships? That once you've had someone take a bullet for you, dinner and a movie feels a bit flat. The next morning, she picked up Carmen for the Brentwood job. Her friend was wearing the company polo shirt but had somehow made it look fashionable with skinny jeans and hoop earrings. You look like crap, Carmen announced as she got in the van. Good morning to you too. Did you sleep at all? Some. They drove in silence for a few minutes before Carmen spoke again. There's been talk. In Koreatown. About what happened to that organization. Vance's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What kind of talk? Kong is gone. Arrested. Federal charges. The whole syndicate collapsed. And Tae-oh? The name felt strange in her mouth after so long. Nobody knows. Some say he's dead. Some say he went back to Korea. Some say he's living off the grid somewhere. Vance kept her eyes on the road. Tried to look like the information didn't tear her apart inside. You still love him, Carmen said. Not a question. It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. They didn't talk about it again. Focused on work instead. The Brentwood house was huge. 6 bedrooms. 5 bathrooms. Too much marble for Vance's taste. Marble always made her think of that first night. Blood on the floor. Stitches. The way Tae-oh had looked at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. After work, Carmen talked her into getting dinner at a small place in Koreatown. Best bibimbap in the city, she insisted. Vance knew what her friend was doing. Trying to help her face the memories instead of running from them. But as they sat in the small restaurant, all she could think about was Park's barbecue. The night Tae-oh had tested her. The night something had shifted between them. You need closure, Carmen said, poking at her food. It's been a year. I have closure. He left. End of story. Then why can't you look at any of the guys I introduce you to for more than 5 minutes without finding some reason they're wrong for you? Vance didn't have an answer for that. After dinner, Carmen had plans to meet friends for drinks. Vance begged off, claiming fatigue. In reality, she couldn't handle pretending to be normal tonight. Instead of going straight home, she found herself walking the streets of Koreatown. Past shops with signs she couldn't read. Past restaurants filled with laughing people. Past a small diner she'd never noticed before. Something made her stop. Look inside. It was nearly empty. Just a counter with stools. A few booths. A tired-looking waitress refilling coffee cups. She went in. Sat at the counter. Ordered coffee she didn't really want. The place was quiet. Just the clinking of dishes and the soft murmur of conversation from the only other customers, an elderly couple in a booth. Vance stared into her coffee. Wondered what she was doing here. Why today of all days she'd wandered into this random diner in Koreatown. More coffee? The waitress asked. No, thanks. Just the check. As she set cash on the counter, a man sat down on the stool beside her. She didn't look up. Wasn't in the mood for conversation. Then he slid something toward her. A napkin. She glanced at it. There was writing on it. Coordinates. And 3 words. Same time. Tomorrow. Please. She looked up. The man was already walking away. Out the door before she could see his face. But she knew that handwriting. Her hands shook as she picked up the napkin. Stared at the neat numbers. The plea disguised as a request. She pulled out her phone. Looked up the coordinates. A small park near the LA River. Isolated. Private. Her heart hammered in her chest. After a year of silence. A year of wondering. A year of trying to forget. 1 napkin. 3 words. And everything she'd built threatened to collapse. She should throw it away. Forget she ever saw it. Go back to her safe, predictable life. Instead, she carefully folded the napkin and put it in her pocket. Back in her apartment, she called Carmen. I need to talk to you. What's wrong? You sound weird. He found me. A pause. Tae-oh? Yes. Where? How? A diner in Koreatown. Someone left a napkin with coordinates. A meeting place. Holy shit. Are you going? Vance looked out her window at the city lights. I don't know. Yes, you do. She did. Of course she did. Because despite everything, the pain, the abandonment, the year of silence, she needed answers. Needed to see his face. Needed to know if he meant those words he'd whispered before passing out in her arms. What if it's a trap? She asked. Then you call me, and I bring hell down on whoever's responsible. Carmen's voice was fierce. But what if it's not? What if he's been looking for you this whole time? Why would it take a year? I don't know. That's why you need to go. After they hung up, Vance sat on her couch, the napkin in her hand. Turned it over and over, like it might reveal more secrets if she just looked long enough. 1 year. 365 days of building a life without him. Of convincing herself she was fine. Of learning to breathe around the hole in her chest. And now this. A chance to reopen the wound. Or maybe, finally, a chance to heal it properly. She set her alarm for 6 a.m. Early enough to change her mind a dozen times before the meeting. As she tried to sleep, memories played behind her closed eyes. The feel of Tae-oh's hands. The weight of his body as he knocked her out of the line of fire. The way he had looked at her in the lobby that day, cold and distant, while trying to save her life. 1 year ago, she had held him as he bled out on a concrete floor. Had begged him not to leave her. And then he had left anyway. Tomorrow, she would find out why. The morning air was cold enough to see her breath. Vance pulled her jacket tighter and checked her phone. 6:47 a.m. She was early. The park near the LA River was empty. Just a few benches, some scraggly trees, and the concrete channel where water moved sluggishly. Morning mist drifted off the surface, making everything look softer than it actually was. Kind of like memories, she thought. Time had a way of softening the edges. Making you forget the bad parts. Remember the good ones too clearly. She'd barely slept. Spent most of the night going back and forth. Should she come? Should she stay away? What could he possibly say after a year of silence that would make any difference? But here she was anyway. standing by a bench at the edge of a sad little park, watching the sun come up over the city. Waiting. She heard footsteps behind her. Took a deep breath before turning around. Tae-oh. He looked different. Older. Leaner. His hair was longer than she remembered, curling slightly at the collar of his sweater. No expensive watch on his wrist. No tailored suit. Just jeans and a simple gray sweater. When he moved closer, she could see a scar peeking through the fabric at his shoulder. Where the bullet had gone in. Where he'd bled in her arms. "You came," he said. His voice was exactly as she remembered. That was the worst part. "You owe me an explanation." He nodded slowly. "I do." They stood there for a moment, 6 feet apart, a year of silence between them. "Can we sit?" he asked, gesturing to the bench. She sat. He joined her, keeping a respectful distance. Not too close. Not too far. "How did you find me?" she asked. "I never lost you." He looked out at the river. "I've known where you were the whole time." "So you've been watching me?" "For a year?" "Not like that." He shook his head. "I just needed to know you were safe." "While you were what?" "Hiding? Running? Too busy to pick up a phone." The hurt in her voice was raw. Fresh. Like it had happened yesterday instead of a year ago. "I couldn't contact you." He turned to look at her. "I wanted to. Every day. But I couldn't." "Why not?" He took a deep breath. After the shooting, the FBI got involved. They'd been watching Kong for months. Building a case against the entire organization. When he went down, they needed someone on the inside to testify. "You." He nodded. "Me. I spent 6 months in a kind of witness protection. Telling them everything. Names, businesses, connections. Helping them dismantle the whole network. For 6 months. It's been a year. The legal stuff took time. And..." He looked down at his hands. "I needed to make sure it was safe to come back. That there was no one left who would try to hurt you to get to me." Vance processed this. It made sense, sort of. But still. "You could have found a way to let me know. A message. Something." They monitored everything. No outside contact. Those were the terms. "And after? When it was over?" He was quiet for a moment. "I was afraid." "Of what?" "That you'd moved on. That you'd hate me for leaving. That you'd slam the door in my face." He gave her a small, sad smile. "All of the above. So instead you just stayed away. Left me wondering if you were dead or alive. If what happened between us meant anything at all." It meant everything. The simple words hung in the morning air. "Then why did you leave the hospital without saying goodbye?" "They came for me. Federal agents. I didn't have a choice." She wanted to believe him. Wanted it so badly. But a year was a long time to wonder. To doubt. To build walls. "What happened to your empire? Your businesses? All of it?" "Gone." He said it simply. Like it didn't matter. "I sold everything I could. Donated most of the money anonymously to community centers in South LA. The feds seized the rest." "So you're what now? Broke?" A slight smile. "Not broke. But not what I was. I work as a logistics consultant for nonprofits now. It's honest work. And that's enough for you? After everything you had?" He turned to her fully. "What I had was power built on fear. Money made from pain. A life where I couldn't trust anyone. He paused. What I want is something real. She looked away. Had to. His eyes were too intense. Too honest. Why now? Why reach out after all this time? I've been back in LA for 2 months. He said it quietly. Watching your business grow. Seeing you build something amazing from nothing. I wanted to come to you right away, but I needed to be sure I had something to offer. That I wasn't just another problem in your life. And what do you have to offer now? He reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small envelope. Handed it to her. She opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph. Her, reading a book in the penthouse. Hair falling across her face. Completely unaware of the camera. She remembered that day. During the lockdown. Before everything fell apart. I've looked at this every day for a year, he said. Trying to convince myself to let you go. He met her eyes. I couldn't. The photo trembled in her hand. Tears threatened at the corners of her eyes. Why didn't you tell me you were coming back? Because I wanted you to have a choice. A real one. Not obligation. Not guilt. Just choice. He stood up. Took a step back, giving her space. I'll go if you want me to. I'll disappear again, and this time I won't come back. But if there's any part of you that still wants to try. The words hung there. A question. An offer. A chance. She remembered the night in the garage. The gun at her head. His tears when she said she'd always wanted him. The feel of his blood on her hands. The whispered, "Love you," before he passed out. She remembered the days in the penthouse. The card games. The meals. The way he'd held her that night like she was something precious. She remembered a year of building a life without him. Of proving she could stand on her own. Of becoming someone stronger than she'd been before. Vance stood up. Walked toward him. Stopped just in front of him. You hurt me, she said. When you disappeared. It broke something in me. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. If you ever do that again. I won't. He shook his head. I swear it. She searched his face. Looking for the lie. The mask. The cold boss who dismissed her in that lobby a year ago. All she saw was Tae-oh. The real one. The man who'd taken a bullet for her. The one who'd cried in her arms. She kissed him. Just like that. No more words. No more explanations. Just her mouth on his, her hands in his hair, her heart pounding against her ribs like it was trying to escape. He froze for a second, surprised. Then his arms came around her, pulling her closer, kissing her back like a drowning man finding air. When they finally pulled apart, his eyes were damp. So were hers. I've missed you, he said. Simple words for a complicated feeling. I've missed you too. They sat back down on the bench, closer now. Her head on his shoulder. His arm around her. Watching the sun climb higher over the river. So what now? She asked after a while. Breakfast, he suggested. I know a diner near here. She smiled. I meant more long-term. I know. But maybe we start small. Breakfast. Conversations. Learning each other again. They walked to the diner hand in hand. It was the same one where he'd left the napkin. Small. Quiet. Formica tables and vinyl booths. They sat across from each other. Ordered coffee. Pancakes for her. Eggs for him. Tell me about your business, he said. Vance Spotless Services. I like the name. It's small. Just me, Carmen, and 2 others. But it's growing. You built it from nothing. That's impressive. I had to. After you left, I needed something that was mine. Something no one could take away. He nodded, understanding. I'm not asking you to give any of that up. I know how much it means to you. Then what are you asking? He slid another napkin across the table. Different words this time. The position for a partner is still open. If you want it. She laughed. A real laugh. The first one in so long. You're still corny. You still love me. She met his eyes. Yeah. I do. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. They had a year of silence to overcome. Trust to rebuild. A new relationship to define. But sitting in that diner, watching him stir sugar into his coffee with the same careful focus he gave everything, Vance knew one thing for certain. Some things were worth fighting for. Some people were worth the risk. Where are you living now? She asked. Small place in Echo Park. Nothing fancy. I'd like to see it sometime. Anytime. He paused. How's your brother? Good. In tech now. Smart kid. I'd like to meet him. Properly this time. He might punch you for what you put me through. Tae-oh nodded. I'd let him. They talked for hours. About everything and nothing. About the year apart. About what came next. She told him about building her business. The struggles. The small victories. He told her about cooperating with the FBI. About starting over with nothing but his skills and determination. They were different people now. Stronger in some ways. More cautious in others. But the connection between them, that thing that had sparked the first night when she found him bleeding on marble, was still there. Still real. When they finally left the diner, he walked her to her car. Can I call you later? He asked. Almost shy. The powerful boss completely gone. You'd better. She smiled. We have a lot more to talk about. He kissed her again. Gentle this time. A promise, not a demand. As she drove away, she glanced in the rearview mirror. He was still standing there, watching her go. But this time, she knew he wasn't disappearing. This time, he'd be there when she came back. 2 years later. The Thompson contract is ready to sign, Vance said, setting the folder on the kitchen table. 5 office buildings. Regular service. Tae-oh looked up from his laptop. That's the biggest one yet. We'll need to hire at least 3 more people. The business is growing fast. He smiled. Proud of you. Vance Spotless Services wasn't so small anymore. 15 employees now. A real office with a reception desk. Contracts with businesses all over the city. And a partner who handled the logistics, made the schedules, balanced the books. Who knew exactly how to make a cleaning business run efficiently? Their apartment was modest by most standards. 2 bedrooms in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing flashy. Just comfortable. Homey. The photo of Vance's mother sat on the windowsill. Next to it, a picture of Tae-oh and Malik playing video games, both laughing. They'd built this life together, piece by piece. Day by day. The first year had been hard. Trust came slowly. There were fights. Misunderstandings. Moments when the past threatened to overtake the present. But they worked through it. Learned to talk instead of hide. Learned to lean on each other without losing themselves. Tae-oh's consulting business had grown too. He helped community organizations with logistics and planning. Used the skills he'd gained building an empire to help others build something positive instead. They weren't rich. But they were stable. And they were happy. "Dinner's almost ready," Tae-oh said, closing his laptop. "Your brother's still coming on Sunday?" "With his new girlfriend. Be nice to her." "I'm always nice." She raised an eyebrow. "You interrogated the last one like she was a suspect." "I was just asking questions. About her family's criminal connections?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Old habits." She laughed, coming around the table to kiss him. "You're lucky I love you." "I know." He caught her hand. Pulled her onto his lap. "Every day, I know." Later that night, after dinner, after the dishes were done, they sat on the small balcony watching the city lights. Her head on his shoulder. His arm around her. "You know," she said, "a year ago I thought I'd never see you again. And now?" She looked around. At their home. At the life they'd built together. At the man who had given up everything to be here with her. "Now I know what it means to choose something just for me." He turned, taking her face in his hands. "You were always my dream," he said. "The only one that mattered. And you were mine." The city stretched out below them. Still chaotic. Still beautiful. Still full of dangers and possibilities. But right here, in this moment, they had found their peace. Not because it was easy. Not because it made sense. But because they had chosen each other. Again and again. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. The way her hands fit in his. The way his nightmares faded when she was near. The home they'd built that had nothing to do with marble floors or expensive things. Just love. Simple. Complicated. Worth fighting for. Worth everything. And that's where we'll end it. Not perfect. Not clean. But real. If you made it this far, smash that subscribe button because I drop stories like this all the time. And comment where you're watching from, plus the moment that hit you the hardest. See you in the next story.